Hello and welcome to a look at Dominator for the Commodore 64. The game that was made and released by System 3. In Dominator, you are Dominator, a ace pilot who was part of an elite team, and you of course are the only survivor, or it wouldn't be fun. And lo and behold, a huge space creature of some description is very hungry and it's devouring the systems left, right and center, and of course it is approaching good old Earth, and we can't have that. So you are sent out because you are the Dominator. The game contains 4 levels and I have only reached level 2, and I more about that in a moment. But the first level is a normal scrolling shoot 'em up, as you have seen a billion times before and since. And despite the fact that Mark Cale made a claim in the manual about the System 3 being committed to producing high quality varied games and that kind of stuff, I have to admit, specifically the first level here feels like the System 3 has missed the mark completely. It's hard to believe that this game was released by the same people that gave us Last Ninja and Last Ninja 2, among other titles, but of course those are likely the most prominent ones. Anyway, regarding the first level, you have your normal gun power thing, and thankfully you have an inbuilt auto fire, so you don't have to hit the fire button a billion times. I don't mind that normally, but for generic shooters like this, I don't mind having the option to just rest my fingers and hold down the fire button and let the game do it for me. As you can probably gather from the graphics, this is quite a narrow area. You are flying and you're basically flying and inside a huge space monster, killing it from the inside. That is basically the description of the gameplay. And it is quite narrow, and your craft is annoyingly large for the area you're playing in. The enemies are thankfully coming in from fixed directions, but the game has a quite unpleasant love for sending enemies in from behind. And of course you have waves of enemies which are just trying to block you off, and of course when you have a limited amount of space to move in, then you can find yourself being boxed in very quickly. There's not an awful lot of the enemies like to shoot at you, at least on level 1, but those who do shoot, they shoot from all sorts of odd angles, and the shot speed has varying speed. I should probably rephrase that and say that the shot speed is variable, I think it's called, and sometimes you get the shot speeds which are quite slow, and other times they move at the speed of sound, which makes it very hard to dodge, especially when you have other enemies boxing you in with shots that are moving very slowly, and you have to avoid stuff coming from behind in narrow corridors. On top of that, the game has a lovely built-in mechanic saying that you can't shoot through the barriers. Anything that resembles a wall stops all your shots, but of course, because fun is fun, that is not the case for enemies. Their shots will happily bypass any solid object, meaning that you can get shot at without being able to shoot back. And of course, because again you are trying to avoid, dodge, whatever stuff in narrow corridor thing, then it becomes extremely obnoxious. My favorite part, of course, is the fact that enemies can shoot after going off screen, which is something. It's a mechanic that I have mentioned several times in shoot 'em ups that I am not a huge fan of. I quite dislike them. That mechanic even. And not only do they shoot from off screen, but you can actually face an enemy that has passed off screen for 3-4 seconds, and suddenly you just get a random shot coming in from behind you. Again, because of course the shot speed is of it's quite varied, and you don't know what speed it comes in at, and of course because you're trying to hug the bottom of the screen to avoid something coming from the front, suddenly getting shot from behind is no fun. The boss at level 1, those things that come in from the sides can be shot, the center bit cannot, and you have to make sure that your shots have a chance to hit the organ thing, whatever it is, and then it will blow up and you get a level. Right. Then we move on to level 2, which is side-scrolling suddenly, instead of what we just came from, and in level 2 we actually get to experience our power-ups. As you can probably see from the gameplay, it is very, very heavily inspired by R-Type. A lot of games were, so I don't really hold that against this one, but thankfully it's a saving grace, and one of the few saving graces of this game is the fact that once you reach level 2, that is where you start from. You don't have to reload level 1 and then play through that crap one more time. But I think I've talked enough about gameplay. Let's do a bit technical stuff because it's good fun, I suppose. The graphical point, or the graphical side, I should say, of things is not particularly inspiring or interesting. The Commodore 64 version of R-Type was not particularly arcade accurate, but it was still a decent game. That was, by the way, me hitting spacebar by mistake. It pauses stuff. It wasn't a game lacking anything. But specifically on the first level, the graphics are extremely bland. It gets a bit better, a bit more detailed on level 2, but by and large I don't think the graphics are anything worth celebrating. The sound design, I don't like Matt Gray's music by and large, but I think you can hear from the title tune that there is some Last Ninja 2 music inspiration in it, which of course is fair enough because he made the music for Last Ninja 2, so I mean he can take any inspiration he wants. But by and large I don't think the music is particularly interesting. It's not bad, it's just not for me. The sound effects, it's very hard to mention any sound effects unless they stand out as being particularly epic or particularly crap, and neither is the case for this game. The gameplay is supposed to be unique, and I suppose the fact that you switch from one type of shooting up to another type of shooting up is somewhat unique, but by and large, this game contains too many things that I don't like. Enemies coming from behind constantly, shots coming from off screen, shots being able to bypass barriers you can't shoot through, things like that, all things that make me a happy, cheerful gamer. On that note, thanks for watching, take care, see you next time, bye bye for now.